screen here and talk for a bit about the about Bioshock from my final gaming journal. No camera either. I just don't feel like putting it all together right now. Especially since this is hopefully going to be a little shorter than usual. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the game as a whole. So I finished it recently. I think earlier this week, on about Tuesday, Monday. I think it was Monday. So yeah, I finished Bioshock, and it was an interesting ending. I liked the, I guess, end game of it. I really liked the way that the game built up the whole, you get to meet Andrew Ryan and then kill that guy because he's the baddie. Plot twist, he is not the baddie, and you've been played for a fool by Atlas, aka Fontaine. Fontaine then plays his hand, and reveals himself to you, and you're like, well, I've been strung along this entire game. And then you go on a, killing spree, essentially, through a whole load of splicers to go and kill him. And then when you do end up finding him, he has transformed himself into a Frankensteinish monster, right? And there's, a very classic, I feel like, video game mechanic of attack the boss, he, has to go recharge, you have to go do some final hit thing, and then rinse and repeat. I think this one was 4 times, which seemed like a bit, but I get it, I guess. And every time, I'll get more into the mechanic of that fight itself, but I thought it was very cool. But then, and so everything up to there, right? So that whole end game, plot-wise, mechanic-wise, I thought it was fine, story-wise, it was great. And then I know I talked to a couple other people about this in class. It had a rough ending. That felt super rushed and super uncared for. It lasted literally no longer than 30 seconds, 45 seconds for the ending cutscene, which is just oof. I was expecting so much more, I guess. I don't know. Maybe some interaction with the characters a little bit, but I know they didn't really mix cutscene too much with character movement. I think I've been spoiled in that respect by Skyrim and stuff, but even a little bit of a longer cutscene, I would have been willing to sit there for a good 5-minute ending, Fallout New Vegas style, just a cinematic for a good 5 to 6 minutes of it being this is how this played out, etc. I don't know. I was just expecting something a little bit more than you've killed the big monster and now this is the ending you get. And I got the good ending, by the way. So for those who don't know, that game has 3 different endings I discovered. The good ending is you didn't kill any of the little sisters ever, and you escape Rapture essentially with them and raise them, and then you die happy with a family. Second ending and third ending are essentially the same. One of them has a sad undertone, and one of them has an angry undertone. Angry undertone is if you kill each and every single little girl that you find, or little sister that you find, and then sad undertone is if you killed a couple of them, but not all of them. If you mixed up harvesting or rescuing them. But they say the exact same message and they show the exact same cinematic. So it's you take over Rapture, and in the most strung together plot line I've ever seen, use the splicers to attack a submarine, which is cleaning up the wreckage of the airplane, and also has a nuke stored on it for whatever reason, and it implies that you then go on to become a nuclear terrorist. And that's it. And it's So I guess first of all, I'm a little bit upset that there is no redemption arc for the character, I guess. I feel like the next ending is you kill the little girls up until you realize you've been duped, and then rescued all of them from there on out, after you've gone to Tenenbaum's a safe house and interacted with the little sisters then. I don't understand why it wouldn't have been yes, okay, so clearly he the player felt bad about doing that. I don't get why there wouldn't have been a redemption thing. Which is unfortunate, because I thought that would be really cool. But then also just like it wouldn't have mattered if it was just another cinematic. Like I guess that would have been a little bit better, but also it needed to be like more satisfying, I think. And for some reason, it just was not. Um, and I couldn't tell you if like having that first person experience would have done it for me, but I don't know. Just so that's my thing about the ending. Just to like talk about like the end fight, because I thought that was a very cool and like common game mechanic, so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Where it's a boss fight, where that encompasses in my head. I guess I should break that down a little bit. Where it's like you, the player, are fighting this one specific enemy most of the time. There are very few exceptions to that rule, or there are a couple exceptions, but like more often than not, the idea is that you are fighting a singular enemy that is extremely powerful, and doesn't necessarily get injured the like exact way that most of the other enemies in the game get injured. So either it just like takes a way like tons and tons more damage in the exact same manner that you've been killing the rest of the enemies in the game, which for this for Bioshock, that is what happened a little bit, where you had to still use guns and like explosives and whatnot to try to kill Fontaine. But then there's like in the like I guess plot motivated way of injuring him was going up and jabbing him with one of those atom collectors. So like that is like I guess the game's way of saying like this is what's actually going to hurt him is like I guess draining the atom out of him. Not the shooting just like makes him have to go rest and recharge or whatever. But I did think it was really cool. Very difficult. Like I was on easy difficulty and I could not tell what was happening. And that's coming from a person who like spends his time playing PlanetSide 2, which I know I like showed a little bit of gameplay of, and it wasn't like that bad. But like there are some very intense, chaotic fights in that game, and I was still entirely thrown off, like visually, by like the game mechanics, and that's partially the sensitivity was way too high, which I know I talked about consistently, almost every single episode or video of like my live streams. I think I say I hate this sensitivity because I do. But like a mixture between that and then also just the coloration of the game, it was very dark and not super saturated, so it all looked like an indistinct dark blob to me most of the time. Anyway, like so I guess it wasn't that bad to play, but I know if I had stayed at the same difficulty that I've been at before, or if I tried to even like do it on like the hardest difficulty, which I have to assume some players do, it would be terrible. Like it would be insane because that game is not supposed to be a fighting game. What I've come to realize, I ended up playing it very run and gun, especially toward the ending when I realized it was easier to do that on an easier difficulty. Because then you don't have to worry so much about ammo consumption or health management, etc. All that like other game mechanics that it had in. You have to worry about that a lot more on a harder difficulty because then like if you miss a shot or if you take too much damage, you're essentially screwed. And so there's like a lot of stealth-based gameplay that I think is encouraged in that game, specifically with the crossbow that got introduced. That was a super powerful gun, but it had a very slow reload, very slow like rechamber time, I guess is the term for it, where you like take one bolt off and then place another one on. But then also a very long reload time where you're like restacking all 5 to get ready, I guess. Is the way you would say that. I don't know crossbow terminology, unfortunately. But even then, like to zoom in, you had to hit Z. So there was eventually an aim down sight function, or an ADS. I'm going to keep calling it that. Aim down sights. So there was eventually an ADS function, but there was a problem where if you zoomed in with it and then fired, the game would keep you zoomed in as it like rechambered the next bolt, which left you very exposed to being hit. So I never really used it. Like I know in my last live stream I tried to use it because it was kind of cool, but it was just so hard to aim without aiming down sight. And then when you did aim down sight and you had multiple enemies to deal with, or if you even were dealing with one and you miss your shot, you're done. Or I guess it's pointless to continue using the crossbow at that point. There's just better weapons to use. But that's just my own opinion about the weapon system and whatnot. Or like the gameplay mechanic. I think